to develop and grow your brand in a more authentic and sustainable way, locally and globally. Whether it is your personal brand or company brand, your product or service level brand. You learn from thought leaders from different parts of the world, from CEOs, business owners, managers, and experts who tell their brand stories and share their valuable firsthand insights. My name is Brigitte Bojkowsky. Everyone calls me Bridget. I'm the founder and owner of BridgetBrands, a branding strategy boutique. I help my clients craft meaningful strategies that effectively elevate their brands to unleash their full potential and shine. So, together, we go deep and bring the brilliance out of you. So, let's get started and dive with me into the world of brands. I'm thrilled to have Maria Kauffman as my valued guest today. She's an inspiring women's leadership coach who helps women in STEM, aka science, technology, engineering, and math, and in male dominated industries progress through successful career advancements with empowerment programs whereby she guides her women clients through a proven framework for growth. With her podcast, The Everyday Heroine, she can even inspire more women to take the lead and show the world the truth about what women are capable of. I have known Maria for a while now, and I tell you, she has a knack for sharing perspectives in a way that inspires growth and helps others overcome challenging obstacles while moving problems towards resolution. So I want to welcome Maria Kauffman. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
So nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so thrilled. I'm very happy to have you as my guest today, Maria. And yeah, especially because you're coming from a male dominated industry, society, yeah, from this world, and you are being a role model for other women to stand up, to claim their power and own their voice. So yeah, and we have known each other for a while. We are kind of
Yes.
besties, and yeah, it's just yeah, you're very inspiring, and I'm glad we share the journey going forward for a while. Yeah, Maria, could you tell us a little bit about your background, about your journey that brought you right there where you are now?
Yes, certainly. It has been a very interesting journey. I like to say I'm at the point right now that I'm starting my second half of life. It's almost like I've had two lives. So, my first half, I started the daughter of two very, very sweet parents, very, very simple and humble. And a small town in Pennsylvania. I had two older brothers and a younger sister. And we were not the most well off family, but my parents certainly provided for us, the best that they could. At a very young age, I kind of had a sense that maybe something was just a little bit different between, the way I was experiencing life and maybe the way others were. We were we were not well off enough for us. I would even say to be, I like to call it, we were too poor to be biased. So
Mm,
between myself and my older brothers, which we were all very close in age, I just didn't know any different. My parents just kind of treated us the same. Now, we did have a lot of traditional roles that we were brought up in. So by the time I was getting through my early years of school, I didn't have any real skill or talent that was allowing me to shine in my brilliance at an early age. The only thing that really stuck out was math, and it really stuck out. It was not glamorous whatsoever, definitely back in the day, to be the math whiz as a girl. And I recognize that piece, but it really was the only thing I had. And I wanted to provide a better life for a family that I eventually wanted, when I grew up. So I took that math skill and I ran with it the best that I could because it was the thing I had. And, by the time I went into 10th grade, I took a differential aptitude test and it tells me that I should be an engineer, which I had no idea even what that was. The more I researched it, the more it just seemed like the perfect fit for me. So I follow that path. I get into an engineering school. I'm graduating high school, and people say to me, oh, the typical questions: what are you majoring in and where are you going to college? And when I would tell them that I'm studying engineering, this was the first time I started to hear these comments that, oh, isn't that a man's world? I'd never even heard that before. So I thought that was a little interesting. I get to college, and there definitely were more men than women in class, but I was fortunate enough to find a sorority full of women engineers, accountants, computer science majors. So I really sloughed off those early comments about this whole idea of a man's world. I was like, wait a minute. I'm living with all these amazing women and I'm seeing the upperclassmen, get these great jobs and, company cars and expense accounts and good salaries. And I'm just like, man, life is getting good for me. So, of course, I follow that path. Now, I think that was a very, very crucial part for me to have that experience and to see that there were other women doing phenomenal in this engineering realm or in this, this man's world. Once I got into my career as an engineer, it was very few and far between where I saw other women. But I think somehow that was sealed into me that women really can do anything that they want. And I was bound and determined, to make this a success because naturally I was this problem solver and I wanted to travel. So travel was paid for by the company, and I was open to this amazing world of toys. And it seemed like toys to be exposed to some of the problem solving that I had as an engineer. So that took me down the career of being an engineer. And of course, I had all kinds of obstacles that I ran into. We could probably talk forever on that. But what really happened for me was this also knowing that something was missing.
Mhm.
And right from the start of my engineering career, I also dabbled in what I'll call leadership growth. And so in my spare time, I was just consumed with reading books and taking seminars and getting into certain classes that helped me understand what was it about some of these people that were successful that maybe I didn't have, and I certainly didn't have growing up. So I wanted to complement that. So as life goes, eventually I get to the point where I discover that life coaching is a thing. That was another one that, man, the first time I heard it, it was like I got hit by a lightning bolt. And I was like, I have to have a part of this life coaching thing or understand what that's all about. So I pursued that in my spare time. And it certainly transformed me in a way that took me on a different direction, but it did take a little, about 10 years actually, between the time I got certified as a life coach until I decided to take a whole different path in my career. And now I'm starting my second half as a whole new, an entrepreneur in a whole different direction.
Yeah, so actually this year, right, in March, you started out and you became your own boss. So I would like to go a little bit deeper into that. Why did you make that decision? Why did you want to transform into being your own boss and I mean leaving a safety net with all of the benefits? And that's a huge step. You have to be very courageous doing something like that, right? So what was your big why that you going for? There is something like you need to do that, right? And you must have a vision that you're going for. And And how do you do that? What are the values that you are living by? So, a bunch of questions. Let's go step by step. Why? Why, Maria?
This is interesting. So, for as long as I have known you, I don't know if we've gotten into some of the details.
No, no.
And it was a real struggle. So, there was a part of me, and like I said, for 10 years, I had my life coaching certification and I was doing both internal coaching on the job and, outside of the job as well, a little bit on the side. And like exactly like you said, it was safe. I'm making a good salary. And as a matter of fact, it was very, very difficult of a pool between, my engineering career and making that transition, because right now there's a very, very limited supply of people with my skill. So the demand for is easy. It's not like I have trouble getting a job, staying employed, and making a good salary. But inside, my heart and soul were dying, like literally dying. So, one interesting little fact that I believe was a true pivotal point was I was making a decision to buy a house. So I had done a little bit of relocating with some job opportunities. I actually, so in that transition, in looking for a new house, I put a deposit, and this was like my dream house. It was brand new construction. I got to pick out everything. The location was perfect. I had a deck with a beautiful view. It was everything I could have dreamed of. And I put the deposit on, and then all of a sudden, something inside of me was totally putting on the brakes. Totally putting on the brakes. So in the meantime, too, I was talking to a financial advisor of mine who actually coached me through this decision. At one point, I'm reaching out to her to ask to liquidate some funds so I can buy the house. Not a big deal. And she's all in, going to support me anyways, especially when it's a dream house. I loved her support in that area. But when I was honest with her and I told her about all these feelings inside, that was like, I don't think I can do this. And it wasn't like I don't think I can afford it, or it was something else that was saying, you cannot do this from inside.
Wow.
And yeah, it was powerful. And I remember that phone call with her, and she basically helped me to put myself past the decision saying no to my dream house.
Oh, wow.
And when she helped me vision that, that was a baby step toward, there is a different vision for the way my life needs to go right now. The engineering career has been incredibly rewarding and fulfilling, and it has now just come to pass. It now is ending, and I needed to be honest about that.
Mm.
And so my financial advisor helped me with that. And I think some of the whys, Brigitte, is, once again, I was really fortunate to have a great career, but I learned so much. And I learned so much the hard way.
Mm.
It took me way too long to understand, first of all, that you should really negotiate for everything, for a salary and all these other things, right? And not only that you should do it, but even how to do it. So all of the knowledge and experience that came with that career, I felt a strong purpose that I need to give back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I need to help other women get over this, because it shouldn't be that hard. It should definitely not have been as hard as it was for me. So that was a big driver. And through that transition as well, I have a daughter.
Yeah.
So as I was learning some of these things, and some things, early in my career, you just take it with a grain of salt, and it's just part of this world, that you're living in, and part of owning who you are and what you want to do. But the more I started to understand some of these nuances and the impact that they have, I'll call it the butterfly effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe I downplay this interaction that I'm having with somebody today, and maybe I don't handle it in the best way that I could, but I learn from that. So I can do better the next time. But having a daughter and seeing what kind of legacy I'm leaving for other women and for the world started to play a bigger picture.
Mm.
So my values got to the point where the most important value to me was really to make a contribution and an impact toward justice.
Wow.
Very, very strong in that. And of course, I think, I know we've talked a lot, just learning, understanding, and knowledge is a strong value of mine as well.
Yeah, mine too. That's something we have in common.
It's a huge driver, and I love it. This is why even on my second half, right? I feel like, in the second half, I get to bring in all the wisdom
Mm.
and let go of, a lot of the things that don't serve me any well and start fresh.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. But the third real strong value is fun and adventure.
Mm.
Looking back on, especially in my early times and some of the challenges that I've had as a woman in a male dominated industry, I really was confrontational about it. And it really left me a lot of times feeling like the victim, or that I'm always in this fight somehow with the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I learned, right? When I learned to drop all that, life became fun,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And everything's an adventure.
Yeah.
And if
I-
I can bring more
yeah.
fun and adventure to the world, sorry, go ahead.
No, it just, you have this kind of freedom suddenly. Yeah, it's kind of dropping some weight, isn't it?
Oh, huge weight. It's the mental weight. It's like when you get up in the morning, it's the weight that you bring to the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not necessarily what's been placed upon you.
Yeah.
It's more what you choose to carry, in life.
And yeah, and in that sense, it's, I think also especially women coming from, let's say, the STEM industry or male dominated society. I think there is this urge to be perfect because you have to kind of live up to the expectations, what actually guys are fulfilling. And you think you have to work much, much more, much stronger, and much longer. And also, I think along with that is this kind of feeling to be, yeah, this imposture, not being good enough. So I suppose this is kind of a characteristic of your target group, that you are appealing to, part of your ideal customer that you are working with, that you help kind of, yeah, turn around this pain into a gain. So can you tell us a little bit about your customer? So what are the benefits? Who is it exactly?
Yeah, and I love, to understand who is it exactly is, and perfectionism and imposter syndrome are definitely, I'll say, indicators that, and I'll call them decelerators when they're true decelerators.
Mhm.
Okay, so uh, in a growth cycle, we learn, we grow, and we establish. And that's a constant cycle, right? In anything we do, we're basically, kind of learning, growing, establishing, learning, growing, establishing, and continuing, that path.
Mhm.
So in the learning phase, I say it's pretty normal to feel like an imposter. So on a small scale, that's pretty typical. Definitely when you show up to a construction site or even to a meeting in, a corporate office, and you're the only woman in the room or in the facility, that's going to be a natural imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
right? And I definitely, right from my early stages, I kind of knew that was going to be the case, and I definitely downplayed that.
Yeah.
But what I say is, I like to say that advancement benefits everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when we talk about that imposter syndrome, there's two pieces to that. There's one in how a person shows up, and then there's also one in how they're treated.
Yeah.
So the more important it is now to get to these people, these clients who, and it may be, women in a male dominated industry, but it may be somebody starting a business that feels like, who am I to start this business? Right? It's a lot of the same, philosophies and techniques, if you will, to kind of walk you through that process. So perfectionism is what I, on the learn, grow, and establish cycle, perfectionism is more on the latter side of that cycle, where you work too hard and too long in that development phase, and you don't bring your creations out into life, right? Because you even in the dream phase,
Yeah.
you think, who am I to have this dream?
Yeah. And some don't even progress beyond that. They feel stuck, right? And don't dare to go the next step. Yeah.
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 And that's where, right, that's the crux of my ideal client would be, oh, you are definitely meant to bring your creation out into the world, even if it's just you just performing. I say you just, but it's huge to have women in the workforce. They have perspectives that are definitely going to drive creativity and innovation, and they're crucial to our society right now, in
Mm.
our cultures, because they give this natural perspective that is untapped.
Yeah.
And that's quite a beautiful thing to get in there and to help somebody over that transition into bringing themselves fully expressed into the world, whatever nature that may be.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love what you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it doesn't stop there. So you also recently started your own podcast, The Everyday Heroine. And it's a podcast that also is meant to inspire this women's leadership, and showing the world the truth about what really women are capable of. So, in that way, you can scale, you can even help more people through your podcast. And I love your podcast. Yeah, so
Thank you.
your interviewees that you're having on your show, it's so much to learn from. And you also came up with an interesting seven defining characteristics framework of an everyday heroine. So, first of all, why did you start your podcast? Second, why everyday heroine? I want the definition behind it. And please talk about this seven defining characteristics framework. Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll start with the title. So I have always been a fan of a superhero movie. Love superhero movies. And I think there's something in that resonates with a lot of people and taps into that inner drive that that wants to seek toward what I'll call empowerment, right?
Yeah.
They want to live an empowered life. They want to feel like a heroine, right? But the title came from the everyday heroine. Is there's plenty of real live people, humans, that have this inner capability of being a real live heroine. So I wanted to make it something that communicates a common thread, that we all have this ability inside of us to do these very, very extraordinary things. So part of the idea was to educate and to help people understand that, oh, I see a little bit of that story in me, right? So that was one of the characteristics, is you have to be an actual human being, right? And what I had discovered, because I love movies, definitely love superhero movies, but I started to uncover some of these movies about women in history that I never heard of. And I felt like that was a tragedy in and of itself, is that there's so many stories out there, so many stories that are going, I'll say, hidden. And I think now that there's, streaming outlets that allow you to watch anything you want to watch anytime you want to watch it, I think life is really getting interesting because you can go and choose these things. And that was my thing. It was choosing some of these stories. And the podcast became a vehicle for me to share that story in a way that hopefully inspires others, no matter who they are and where they are, that, oh, there's a little bit of heroine inside of me as well. So that was the big thing. The seven characteristics kind of came out once I did that first episode. So, I started with a movie of a real life person, and I was like, how can I make the connection between this story and this real life person and anyone that comes to listen to this podcast? That was the intention for how the seven characteristics came about. And I think on the back burner, what I had a personal challenge with was when I talk about women's leadership and empowerment. It's such a deep conversation, and it's so colorful and rich. So how do you explain it? And I felt handicapped even from my own perspective in the human language to be able to communicate that succinctly. So really, I think that the podcast is becoming this place where I can talk about it, hopefully in many different ways, uh, and still get at that true nature of what I believe empowerment is and is available to for anyone.
Wonderful. So we're gonna put the link to the podcast in the show notes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Maria, by being a certified professional development and career coach and a podcaster, you are a thought leader for all these women. You are a role model of an everyday heroine, right? And in that sense, I mean, I know you now. Yeah. You are really your authentic self. Yeah. What you are doing as a personal brand. So, what does it mean to you to be your authentic self? Let us know.
That's a great question. And another one where I find it very difficult to communicate succinctly. But I start with this idea is that, there's a statistic out there that states that we really only use 5% of our brain.
Yeah.
So that in combination with, I'm kind of talking about how I feel like I've started this whole second half and I really feel like an infant. So I'm just starting to understand what it's really like based on all of these life experiences, what it's really like to be authentic. And part of that is really getting rid of a lot of the learning that doesn't serve us well in helping us to be authentic. And that's okay. It's pretty natural, right? So even in business, there's typically somebody that you're reaching out to help you follow a particular path at a particular moment in time.
Mm.
But being really authentic is saying, okay, I need a teacher right now that's going to help me maybe with this aspect, and I'm going to take a step. And I'm going to, doing that activity is going to take me one step further to being more authentic with myself or for myself and in this world. And then when that teacher maybe is has taught you what you needed to know at that step, maybe you choose another teacher. So each one of us has this interaction in the world with all these different people that are helping us in some way, I believe, expose our true authentic selves. And maybe it comes in the message of what we don't want to be like. And maybe it's, oh, I want a little bit more of this. And it really makes for this colorful picture of what it's like to really just be yourself. Now, on the point where there's 5% of our brain that we're using, I'm also starting to be exposed to things that are blowing my mind on what's possible with the human potential.
Mm.
And I am absolutely thrilled and blown away of what's really possible. So with helping my clients in women's leadership is to drop those the things that we learned that might not be helping us to be a true authentic self, and to now pick up things that inspire us and lead us down a whole different motivational way is really exciting. And I can tell you, my clients continue to blow me away.
Yeah, of what they are possible suddenly, right?
Right. Because you share something with them, and then I follow up later and hear how they're taking that into life and then empowering other people. And you see how rich and wonderful, life can really be.
Yeah, this really has also something to do with leadership. Yeah, so first of all, you lead your own ship yourself. Yeah, being cognizant of that. And then also helping others. So you're leading others, you're of service to others, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have any mindset tips for us that
Mm.
help us be our authentic self, that allow us to really own our voice, own our brilliance, and that really kind of blows our mind and make our, let's say, mm, that's our wisdom that we kind of yeah create over our lifetime, help us to kind of broaden that. So do you have any tips for us?
And I love how you set that up and how you talked about that, because my biggest tips are, number one is to notice your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
With a meditation practice, and I've been talking about that on the podcast, that's a great exercise to learn how to notice your thoughts. So the first one is to notice them, and that builds awareness. So from there, when you notice them, you can choose whether you want to listen to them or not,
Yeah.
and what direction do you want to take from just noticing those thoughts, right? So if it's a positive thought, or if we want to label it as a positive thought and we believe that this is taking us in a good direction and it's where our authentic self wants to take us, then follow it. But at that moment where you notice the thought and question, is this really serving where I want to take my authentic self? You have the choice to say no
Yeah.
and to choose a different thought,
Yeah. We
right?
have the choice to choose. Yeah.
We have the choice to choose. That's so powerful. And it sounds simple, but really it gets back to that tip is to put into a practice where you can build awareness so that you can just notice the thoughts.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Any other tips you want to share with us concerning our, yeah, building a true being, or
Mm.
let's say resting or living our true authentic self?
Ah, yes. So I feel like I have been truly gifted with intuition, very, very strong intuition. And that has nothing to do with this brain and those thoughts. It's a whole different place to get knowledge. And along that line, a recommendation a long time ago, which was very, very impactful for my change, was having an intuition journal. So over time, you just kind of start to learn, oh, is this my intuition or is this my monkey brain?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Who's driving the train right now, and where's that information coming from? So, and journaling sometimes is helpful, because you might have an intuition maybe far in advance of something happening, but you might forget about it, or that sensation of where that information comes from is something to be tickled apart and teased and understood over time. So that was a very, very powerful exercise for me, is to tap into that intuition. And I can tell you now, Brigitte, I learned to drive with the intuition.
Mm-hmm.
If I know it's an intuitive hit, I wholeheartedly take that over any other mental activity that might be coming from my brain. And it's proven to be very, very rewarding and very, very successful.
Wow, I love that tip. Thank you so much, Maria.
Yes.
um, are you willing to share any experience, Maria, that was a major learning for you? Any detour in your life that, yeah, has proven itself as a huge opportunity to grow? So, is there anything that you want to share with the audience?
Oh, the first thing that comes to mind there, and I have to follow my intuition, is definitely parenting my daughter
Mm,
and understanding that, she was definitely a nice mirror because I love her to death. But she offered a mirror to me of who I was and how I was showing up. And even though there were times certainly where I said, "Oh, I don't like the woman that I'm seeing in the mirror," that definitely was huge because I certainly wanted to show up better for her and leave a better legacy in life.
mm.
And she definitely was a gift that was able to show me that,
Oh,
as hard as it was.
yeah, I guess so. But beautiful. Thank you, Maria. As a last question, do you have any pieces of advice since you now are your own boss? Yeah. So, advice for corporates who want to shift to solopreneurship, who want to transition, yeah, want to become their own boss and start their own brand, build their own personal brand. Is there any advice you would like to share?
Sure. And this may not be also a story that you and I have talked about, but over the 10 years where I was thinking and trying to start the business, I did have a moment in time where I just told myself, it's not going to work, give it all up. And I did. I started that whole process to give it up. It called me back. And the thing that got me so excited and helped me accelerate over the difficult times that came right after that was a branding class.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I coming from the engineering realm, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm mostly in my logical brain, and I had no idea how important branding is and what it was even really all about. And actually, and at first, I don't think I even knew I was in a branding class at first until I came out the other side. And I was like, oh, that's branding. But it was fun and
Mm,
it was powerful.
mm.
And I basically what brought me back in
Okay.
and gave me enough acceleration to say, you know what, I can do this. Everything that I created myself through that class is important
And that's,
and unique.
yeah. I mean, there is so much to branding. It's not just a logo or a tagline or something. Yeah, there is, it goes very deep. Yeah.
Yes.
Starts with having a vision and your mission and why are you here for, and then it goes into all of the other steps. I'm so glad it brought you back.
Me too.
Yeah. Good. Finally, I would like to do a quick word wrap with you, Maria. I do that with everyone, and I would like to have quick and short answers to any
Okay.
of the terms I'm now um, saying. So, heroine.
Unstoppable.
Oh, cool. Mindset.
Use it wisely. It's the most powerful tool in your tool chest.
Okay. Woman.
Humanity's salvation.
Wow, that's strong. Empowering.
The result of being your authentic self.
Great. And last but not least, brains.
So it's personality expressed in a picture form.
Okay, that's beautiful. Good. Love that. So, Maria, where do listeners find you?
Awesome. So, in the show notes, we'll share a link. I have a free offer for the 3 essential strategies empowered women use for success. And for those that are called to have a powerful coaching relationship, there's a consult call that they can schedule and get right on my calendar. And you can also find me at mariakaufman.com.
Great. Maria, thank you so much for being my guest today on BrandsTalk. It was a pleasure. You are a delight, and thank you for sharing all the ideas about how to help women advance their careers. And thank you for doing that and putting your life into that so that others also become an everyday heroine who shine. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Bridget. Thank you for all you do. And thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks to all for joining Brains Talk today. Yeah, it's great to be in conversation, and I always welcome your precious feedback. Please leave your comments or drop me an email. You can also listen to this show as a podcast on your go. Just follow Brains Talk on your favorite platform. And if you're interested in learning more about my services, head over to my website, BridgetBrands.com. Or if you're curious about my personal branding course that is coming up soon, click on the link in the comments below. I hope you will join me again when we dive into the world of brands, life, or by having me in your earbuds walking the talk. Bye for now. Let's shine. You deserve it. Thank you.